Y'all like my CD rack? It's awesome. I like it. Hey everyone, CWD Music here. I'm CWD, and this is going to be a music review of this new Camila Cabello. Camila Cabello? I'm trying not to be too American. Camila Cabello is a singer from Miami, Florida, and this is her debut album. She left Fifth Harmony late 2016, I believe, to pursue her own solo career, and it's gotten pretty successful in a sort of limited fashion, namely with the hit single Havana, which features Young Thug. A song that was a grower for me after hearing it a few more times just over the radio semi-involuntarily. I like that song quite a bit. It's got a nice Latin vibe to it. I dig the piano chords. Young Thug definitely adds another perspective in the sort of narrative she's talking about, even if the narrative isn't all that compelling or interesting. But even though the song was just likable, I did find promise in what a Camila Cabello album would have in store for the listener, especially since she's a fresh new pop singer, and I did find the instrumentals and the sort of sensual nature of her voice to be pretty interesting that could be different for pop music in the future. So when I heard that there was going to be a new album, hey Zelda! Come here, Zelda! It's Zelda, everybody. She wanted to bombard another review. You can see Zelda now. I'm just going to keep crouched for the rest of the view, but that's okay. So yeah, when I heard that there was going to be a new Camila Cabello album, I was definitely interested in it. I was definitely kind of curious as to what an entire record would sound like. Plus the album was only about 34 minutes, 10 tracks, so even if the album was absolutely horrendous, there wouldn't be too much of a loss there for me. But I had some shred of optimism for what this album would sound like, and I saw no reason not to go into it. But after hearing the album so many times, I just found myself not hating this album, but feeling somewhere between negative and indifferent to what the rest of the album had in store. A chief problem with this album ended up being what the production did to her vocals. I did not like how Frank Dukes treated her vocals at all. Track for track for track, there's just all these different vocal filters going on with her voice, even during moments where it just makes absolutely no sense. You take away all the vocal filters on all of these tracks, then the album would have been significantly better than what we ended up getting. It doesn't necessarily save the album from corny lyricism and the instrumental choices that are either just bland or are just okay, but at least the album would have been tolerable and have some sort of identity about it. Instead we get 10 tracks that don't really amount to much of anything. The best song of the album is Havana, and that song's been in existence for like months now. The issue I'm having with the album isn't so much with Camila's vocals, since take away the filters and Camila is a great vocalist on her own. I don't see why Frank Dukes found it so necessary to add this little effect on her vocals, especially on moments that are more intimate like Consequences, Something's Gotta Give, and Real Friends. Songs that are more acoustic in nature, Consequences and Something's Gotta Give, are basically piano ballads, the latter of which having some okay string hanging in the background. Real Friends being more on the acoustic guitar side of things. And again, the way the vocals are treated make the album sound so synthetic that it might as well have been engineered in a lab somewhere. It's even worse with tracks like Inside Out and Never Be the Same. God, I absolutely despise the way their vocals are treated on these tracks. It doesn't help that the vocal melodies aren't all that compelling or interesting. A good chunk of the time they're pretty monotone, like Never Be the Same. There's not really much of any variation from there being like 2 or 3 vocal notes, apart from maybe the hook and moments of the verse. Never Be the Same having like one of the worst vocal melodies. Nicotine! Halloween! Morphine! even with the layering, who thought that that was a great idea to write that down and put it into a song? The track All These Years sounds like a throwaway Ed Sheeran song. It wouldn't actually surprise me if Ed Sheeran wrote the song and passed this down to her. It doesn't really do her any favors. It just adds on to the fact that she has no identity as an artist. And the track She Loves Control has sort of a synthetic Latin vibe that for some reason has Skrillex on co-production, and you wouldn't have been able to know that if you didn't look at the liner notes. The track In the Dark is no different either. It's more synthetic bubblegum pop music that doesn't really have much to say or much to offer. Honestly, you could probably get a decent EP out of 2-3 tracks on this album, like with Havana, and admittedly I do like the song Into It, the closing track, which is a nice, catchy, sweet little song about being into whatever the other person is into, either sexually or romantically or anything of that nature. It's decent. It's not great or all that memorable, but it's decent. And even though I absolutely despise what the vocals have done to tracks like Real Friends or Consequences, at least these are decent songs constructed together. I don't hate these songs. I find them tolerable, not like the rest of this album. I do commend this album for not being something I absolutely despise, but I found a lot wrong with the production and how this album was handled, to the point where I just can't say I like this album. I don't hate this album. If anything, I just dislike it mildly. But I think if Camila is going to keep working with Frank Dukes, then chances are the next album is going to sound roughly like this. Just a small collection of tracks that don't really leave an impression on the listener. And if that's going to be Camila Cabello's career, then that's not going to be a career that's going to last very long. This album is a negative 1.3 out of plus 3. I did find moments to be tolerable, and overall the album I just dislike and don't really despise. I'm not going to be too angry if someone put this album on or whatever, but I'm not going to be 100% enjoying it. But if you give this album a listen, what'd you think of it? Did you like this album? Did you dislike this album? What was your reasoning for that, and what should I consider listening to and reviewing next? This is CW Music here. This is Zelda. Say bye to the people, Zelda. Signing off.